for joining us on the program today. This is news analysis coming to you on Politics and Business Television. The top stories. Federal government to shut errand filling stations as petrol hits 1,000 naira per litre. Department of State Services must be professional in investigating Hadejia, says Bonu security analyst. National Union of Teachers and Academic Staff Union of Universities with different opinions as federal government bans under 18 from sitting for WASE, SSCE and UTME examinations. Details coming up shortly. Federal government bans under 18 from sitting for WAEC, SSCE and UTME examination. Welcome back. Now let's begin with oil matters, where many filling stations operated by independent oil marketers have now fixed the pump prices of premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, at between 900 naira and 1,000 naira per litre. Owners of these stations seem not to care about the cost of the products as retail outlets operated by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company. Petrol prices at NNPC stations range from 568 naira to 617 naira. This often leads to queues at the stations as Nigerians raise concerns about the high cost of the commodity by independent petrol dealers. The federal government has also vowed to shut down filling stations that will be caught dispensing PMS at exorbitant rates. It declared this through the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, stressing that it was not in the interest of Nigerians for marketers to profiteer in the sales of PMS. Independent oil marketers also claimed that they've been buying petrol from private depot owners for as high as 850 naira per litre since last week, and this was why the pump prices were high. However, the spokesman of the NMPDRA, George Eneta, argued that the petrol price report that the regulator gets from its officials at the depot were different when told that some filling stations operated by independent marketers in Lagos and many other states dispense their products for as high as 900 naira and 1,000 naira per litre. The NMGPRA officials said such outlets would be brought to book if apprehended. And now a public affairs and security expert, Mohammed Kareto, has insisted that a thorough investigation must be conducted to unravel the circumstances leading to the arrest of Bashir Hadejia, who is said to be a former aide to the Minister of State for Defense, Ibrahim Matawale. Kareto is also an analyst and had warned that the investigation must be professionally done. Noted that every Nigerian is interested in knowing the other circumstances surrounding the allegations against him to ensure that he faces the full wrath of the law if found guilty. Kareto stressed this on Saturday in Maiduguri while commending the security agencies for taking the ball by the horns to arrest such a high-profile individual, an act which he said was not common in Nigeria. Kareto maintained that there is the need to get to the roots of this matter. Remember, Matawale has been indicted in so many instances. Now one of his close allies is in the net. Security apparatus managing the situation should dig deeper and get to the roots of the matter because there are so many underlying issues. The analyst said that the effort to provide headway in the fight against insecurity and banditry in Nigeria, pointing out that any act of negligence or attempt by the government to cover up the case will give a bad name and negative coloration to the government, considering Hadejia's familiarity with top-ranking politicians, including the president. a fact which many Nigerians are fully aware of. And now to education matters. The Nigeria Union of Teachers has condemned the federal government decision to ban under-18 candidates from sitting for the West African Senior School Certificate Examination and the National Examination Council, even as the Academic Staff Union of Universities backs the policy. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, announced that the federal government had instituted a new age policy for secondary school leaving examinations, setting the minimum age at 18. This means underage candidates will no longer be allowed to sit for the West African Senior School Certificate Examination and the SSCE examination, both crucial for advancing to tertiary education. The directive also affects the West African Examination Council, which administers the WAEC, and the National Examination Council responsible for the SSCE. Additionally, Moment confirmed that the age limit to undertake the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, overseen by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, will also be 18. The minister went further to give a breakdown of the number of years pupils were expected to spend between child care and senior secondary school. According to him, early care is expected to last for the first 5 years. Pupils are expected to begin primary 1 at the age of 6, spend 6 years in primary school, and move to junior secondary school at the age of 12, spend 3 years before moving to senior secondary school at the age of 15, then spend another 3 years before leaving for the university at the age of 18. Hence, candidates under the age of 18 are banned from sitting for WAEC, SSCE, and UTME exams. This is news analysis coming to you on Politics and Business TV. Still to come, economic downturn, are jobs no longer safe? Labour films. Details after the break. Welcome back. Now let's go to labor matters, where one of the focal points at the 32nd Annual Industrial Relations Seminar of the National Union of Chemical, Footwear, Rubber, Leather and Non-Metallic Products Employees, held in Ilorin, Kwara State, was the issue of job security of members. According to the union, the economic downturn ravaging the country has made the jobs of members very unsafe and implored the government to urgently address the challenges of the sector. Welcoming participants and other guests, President of the union, Comrade Goke Olatunje, noted that manufacturing was critical to driving Nigeria's economic growth and ensuring a sustainable future for its people, while lamenting that the present socio-economic situation was not favorable to everyone, including businesses. He said manufacturers are lamenting daily due to high cost of production as a result of high interest rates and high electricity bill, while petroleum products that are supposed to be for alternative power generation are equally very expensive. Olatunji expressed sadness that the economic downturn also affected the sector, especially workers, saying workers on a daily basis suffer from job losses due to redundancy, closure and relocation of factories. Majority of them work under precarious conditions with poor salary and no incentives or motivation. The present inflation rate and exchange rates are having negative effects on real value of Naira. It may interest you to know that the dollar equivalent of the recently signed minimum wage of 70,000 Naira is far below when it was 18,000 Naira. And now the Group Chief Executive or Ando Group, Jibril Adewale Tinubu, has attributed the acquisition of 100% of the shareholding interest in the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company from the Italian energy company to hard work and resilience, Speaking on the acquisition, Tinubu said today's announcement is the culmination of 10 years of hard work, resilience, and an unwavering belief that we would realize our ambition. It is a win not just for Oando but for every indigenous energy player as we take our destiny into our hands. Expectedly, analysts in the oil and gas sector have joined their voices in commendation of the latest addition of NAOC to Oando's growing business. The analysts also predicted that the acquisition will significantly reshape Nigeria's oil and gas industry. For long, stakeholders in the oil and gas industry waited with eagerness for the deal to be finalized. Beginning from September 2023, when news filtered into the public space that the deal was being discussed, it became a daily topic of discussion among the who is who in the oil and gas industry across Africa. It was therefore not surprising that even before the link was yet to dry on the documents confirming the acquisition, it has generated so much attention in Nigeria and beyond. The acquisition of NAOC by Oando has deservedly attracted comments from analysts in the industry. Speaking on the significance of the acquisition, a foremost oil and gas analyst, Ms. Taiwo, said this landmark acquisition will double Oando's oil equivalent output from 25,000 barrels per day to 50,000 barrels per day. Ms. Taiwo commended the leadership style of Adewale Tinubu and highlighted his ability to identify new business opportunities and create sustainable partnerships. Still, you are watching news analysis on Politics and Business Television. President Tinubu welcomes the report on new gross national product growth as shows of stronger economic performance. Join us after the break as we discuss the latest growth on GDP and its impacts on the economy. Stay tuned. Now, President Tinubu has welcomed the latest report by the National Bureau of Statistics on the state of the economy as the country's gross national product posted another growth. According to NBS, the real GDP grew by 3.2% year-on-year in Q2, higher than the 2.51% recorded in the same period of 2023. After another report on declining food and headline inflation, this latest report affirms that the economy is on the right trajectory and is indeed on the path to recovery. As the President said in his August 4, 2024 national broadcast, our economy is recovering. Sooner than later, Nigerians will begin to see and enjoy the impacts of his administration's economic re-engineering efforts. President Tinubu urged Nigerians to retain their faith in the government and not allow themselves be swayed by naysayers' intent in aborting and undermining the current reforms for their selfish ends. The GDP's performance in the second quarter of 2024 was driven by the service sector, which recorded a growth of 3.79% and contributed 58.76% to the aggregate output. The agriculture sector grew by 1.41% in contrast to the 1.50% recorded in the second quarter of 2023. The industrial sector's growth was also 3.53%, up from the 1.94% recorded in the second quarter of 2023. The NBS also reported that crude production grew to 1.41 million barrels per day compared to the 1.22 million barrels a year earlier. In terms of share of the GDP, the industry and services sector contributed more to the aggregate GDP in the second quarter of 2024 compared to the corresponding quarter of 2023. In the quarter under review, aggregate GDP at basic price stood at 60,930,000.58 in normal terms. This performance is higher than the second quarter of 2023, which recorded an aggregate GDP of 5,210,927.13 million, indicating a 16.94% year-on-year annual growth. With me via phone call is Sawale Joshua, who will enlighten us more on the latest GDP growth and its impacts. Many thanks for joining us on the program, Mr. Wale Joshua.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure having me with you. It's a welcome development that the gross domestic product of a nation is on the rise, and it's on the increase. A welcome development equally is the fact that the agricultural sector is on the rise, which signifies that apart from the fact that our inflation, which is driven by the agricultural sector, will receive inflation rate which is driven by agricultural sector will receive a boost. It's an indication that Nigeria is resilient despite many factors affecting production of agricultural sector. Within the year, Nigeria is still resilient to make a good impact on its agricultural sector, except for few indices that went south year on year about the GDP. Many other indices which has to do with the manufacturing sector, the service sector, and even the oil sector is on the increase quarter on quarter. So that means that the gap between the policy statements, the gap between the strategic statements of the current regime and the action plan, which has to do with the execution, is closing up gradually, and we are seeing the products of the policies which are in place. So I will encourage the government to improve more on what has been the drivers of this GDP, while looking at making sure that the gains made on agricultural sector will not relapse due to the production period. Which
if you can hold on a bit. Few weeks back, we recorded a slight rise in this GDP, which did not reflect on the economic situation of the country. So what would you say on this recent rise, and how much effect will it have on the economy?
Well, there are a lot of factors that wouldn't make the inflation rates or the purchasing power, that wouldn't make them respond simultaneously. You will agree with me that income are not distributed in the same manner, and GDP measures the total income, not the individual household purchasing power. So if we record a growth in GDP, and there is a wide gap between the rich and the poor, that's the upper class and the lower class, we won't see the impact of this growth in GDP. If, for instance, we get more agricultural inputs as reflected on the GDP, if those inputs were export driven, we only get the impact on paper, not on the streets, because what affects common man are on the low ebb of the Abraham Maslow's triangle, which has to do with the rent, which has increased, which has to do with the food, which has increased, which has to do with the clothing, which has equally increased. So those are the factors that cut across the Nigerian sector. Now the onus is now on the government to redistribute this income. Redistribution of income has to do with what is being subsidized by the government, what is being intervened by the government, the grants being given by the government. And you agree with me that the education loan and other schemes, other safety net scheme that the government has developed may cushion this effect, though it may be a long term effort before we can see the effect visibly, but the effect will definitely come. Imagine if there is an increase in admission rates for our students. If there is increase in the rate of admission, if the out of school children, the rate of out of school children are reduced, if we can be able to pay our unemployed, you agree with me that whether it's a little drop in the ocean, it will serve as a cushioning effect.
Yes, it will have effects on
the long run. So the difference between the income rates will not allow us to see the effects of the increase in GDP for now.
So how much impact would this growth still have on the local markets and also in the life of a common man on the streets?
Well, it will have several impacts. One is that GDP cannot grow without people working for the production, because GDP is the measure of what is grossly produced within a nation at a given period. So GDP cannot grow if people are not working. So what it means is that many other people will be paid salaries to produce what this GDP entails. So what this means is that many staffs are paid salaries to get this done, and many agricultural products were rolled out into the market, pushing down. This may likely affect the price of agricultural produce within the economy. And you agree with me that agricultural produce are just the basic raw material for many other production. So if these are cheaper, it means many industries, many micro businesses will return back to production line, and this will improve the purchasing power of the citizen for now, and it will equally impact on our exchange rates, because there will be more to exchange. You agree with me that the oil sector was recorded to have increased, agricultural sector was recorded to have increased, and the service sector, which has to do with the banking and insurance, has equally increased. So a portion of this drives the exports. So I'm expecting that the net effect of the export and imports will affect the exchange rate, either by slowing down the growth or by reversing the growth of the foreign exchange for now.
Talking about agriculture, I would love to ask, which sector of the economy has impacted more on the lives of Nigerians, and why can't the government pay close attention to that sector instead of diversification, since it seems not to be working at the moment?
The impact of each sector has either positive or negative impact on the citizen. If we export more of crude oil, it will have a collective impact on the citizen, improving what we earn as a nation. But the sector that impacts the citizens the most is the agricultural sector, and there are a lot of factors militating against the agricultural sector. You agree with me that the government, the federal government, the collective government doesn't have control on the land, and if the government doesn't have control on the land, it's difficult for agriculture to move in the large scale that we want to experience. It's easier for governments to acquire land, whether federal government or state government, like we have in terms of lake rights. So it's easier for government to acquire land because it's capital intensive than for individual to acquire land. So agriculture might have been militated against by what we call the land, and the inputs, the agricultural inputs may be difficult to get by the common man. So government needs to subsidize this agriculture. But I'm advocate that if government is coming in to subsidize agriculture, they should equally come in to mop up the inputs. Not that we farm maize in large quantity and we allow that maize to rot away in the hands of consumption. Why not build silos where government can mop it up, mop these grains up, store it for rainy days, so as to level up the price, the seasonal variation in price. If we can do this, Nigeria will have a stable market, and we'll be able to control the inflation rate.
What about the oil sector? What do you have to say on that?
You said?
The oil sector.
The oil sector, I will still give kudos to the government, because the oil sector is being militated against by insecurity, and the insecurity would ordinarily not allow the Kaduna refinery to work, because piping crude oil from Niger Delta or from the shores of the country to where the refinery is may be costly by the effect of insecurity. And within the Niger Delta sector, where we have the most of our refineries, we agree that the effect of insecurity there, because of the local refinery, because of the effect of illegal refinery, may be difficult to monitor. So the growth in GDP experienced by the oil sector for this current quarter, for the quarter 2 of this year, is a reflection that government has taken a good step in making sure that the security within the Niger Delta, the security of the oil sector value chain is well monitored. The private security network, that's the Tanzania security, is at least paying off, and the effort of the Nigerian Navy is equally paying off. But we should be able to sustain this, because if we don't sustain it, the effect of the destruction will be more than the gains recorded. So
finally, I would love to ask, should Nigerians be assured that the country's economic performance is getting strong and on the right trajectory with this increase in GDP?
We have many other factors to use in measuring the well-being of a nation. One is GDP, and if we are relying on GDP alone, Nigeria should be assured that the Renew Hope agenda is paying off. But if you are to measure if you are to wait for the inflation rate to decline, if you are to wait for the purchasing power to increase, if you are to wait for the unemployment rate to increase, we will tell the government that there are still more to do in terms of income redistribution, in terms of arresting the growth in inflation rates, and in terms of making sure that our exchange rate is favorable, so as to ensure that what we import is not as much as what we export.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Wale Joshua, for always joining us on the program. We really appreciate. And that will be the size of the program for today. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more updates on politics, business, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I am Idris Amina. Bye for now.